and welcome to another episode of the Richmond BigFooty podcast, or Tigercast. That's the first time I've named it incorrectly. There you go. That's what a long weekend will do to you. I'm your host, Michaels, and we're coming to you live on a public holiday, which I had just forgotten about and haven't printed off the rundown, so we'll see how we get through tonight. But we've got two very special guests in this evening. Our first guest, and they're both brand new to the show, which is good. Our first guest, Richoatthedisco. Welcome to the show, mate.
G'day. Yeah, thanks for having me. We're live, are we? I better not swear in case Tiger Imposter's listening.
Yeah, but...
Oops, shit. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to have to cut a lot of that out, but anyway, that's right.
Sorry, it is a family show, sorry.
Yes, it is. That's right. And our second guest is JR8. Welcome to you.
Thanks for having me.
No dramas at all. Rich, I'll start with you first. You guys both said you had a fun fact or a story about yourselves. You can just even make one up. It doesn't have to be true, but you might know the difference. What did you have for us?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I don't know about a fun fact. Let me see. I'm a Richmond supporter from third generation, I guess. My family sort of been in and around Richmond since the 50s. Fun fact, I played some footy with Birdman Evans coming up as a kid.
Oh, very good.
My brother played with Leper. I don't know. What else we got? I played with Mark Graham, which is not as exciting for Richmond fans.
He was serviceable.
Yeah, he was all right.
Given what we were working with at the time.
Yeah, I didn't think we should have... I thought it was a waste of time getting him, but he did all right for us. I'll tell you something about the Birdman. First time I played against Birdman, I played against him in juniors and then with him at Hawthorn when we were under 17s, under 19s. First time I played against him, he stood on one of our blokes' head, took an absolute screamer, and then later in the game he smashed in another bloke's head with his nose, with his headbutt. I thought, who the hell is this bloke? And he's actually one of the nicest blokes you'll ever meet. I hadn't seen him for like 10 years, and I ran into him one day, and he's like, "How you going, Richo?" Like, he just, and he said he recognised my dad too. I wouldn't have seen him for even longer. So he was a really nice man, Birdman.
He's always around the local footy as well, because he was playing at Narre Warren for a while. So he's always down the local grounds, and he has a chat to everyone, which is good. And JR8, what about yourself? How did you become a Richmond supporter, and did you have a fun fact about yourself?
Yeah, my old man was a Richmond supporter, so my grandfather tried to turn me into a Collingwood supporter when I was first born, and my old man said, no, not having any of that. He's going to be a Tiger supporter, and I've been suffering for a long time, but last year was really good to put an end to the suffering, and I got to share that moment with my dad. So, yeah, that's how I became a supporter. Fun fact, it's not very exciting, but my cat is named after Matthew Richardson, so my cat's name is Richo.
I think there'd be a lot of those kind of pets out there, I'm sure. So, and
Richo's cat's named after Kevin Bartlett.
Oh, there you go. I suppose in more recent times there'd probably be a few Dusties running around. I know one of my mates has got a dog named Dusty, so I'm sure there's a few of them creeping around too. The game on Friday night, I was pretty flat and disappointed after watching it. I thought we should have done a hell of a lot better. Richo, what did you make of the game?
I wasn't that disappointed, to be honest. Like, I thought we fought it out. I just think we passed that tipping point of just having too many B and C graders in the side. It was too much heavy lifting for guys who just weren't quite up to it and didn't have the A grade support that would carry them otherwise. So, I don't know. Interstate against a team that was right up for it, we got shafted by the umps. I still thought we should have won, but I wasn't too disappointed. I think once we get back some of our better players, it's not going to matter too much.
Is it a concern that we do struggle, or we have this year on the road, given that, a few years ago it seemed to be one of our strengths that we'd travel really well, we'd win more than we'd lose, but we just seem to be off the boil this year.
Well, we definitely got our game tailored for the G. There was a bit of play on the other night where I think Higgins flicked one to McIntosh, and McIntosh kicked this long left footer around the outer wing at Adelaide Oval, and it went out on the full just in front of Moore. At the MCG, that was a perfect kick, and we're away because it would have been inside the boundary by 5 metres. But it just floated out because it's a narrower ground. So maybe it's just our game is tailored to the G. Maybe it's just, I don't know, coincidence. I mean, we got shafted by the umps against West Coast too. At half time, we were level. We'd kicked 6 goals 8 to 7 goals 2, and we'd had 36 inside 50s to 17. So you could argue we should have been way ahead. And then after half time, they had 14 free kicks to 1. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm more pleased that we're hard, almost impossible to beat at the MCG than I'm worried about that we lose games away from it.
Maybe I'm being a bit too critical and harsh when I was disappointed. Like, if that's as bad as we're going to play,
Put it this way,
and still only lose by 3 goals.
If we get drawn in a final first week with a full strength side, and we happen to be playing West Coast in Perth or Port Adelaide in Adelaide, I'll take the money and run. We won't be favourites, and I'll put a lot of money on us because we'll smash them.
So you reckon we're just timing our run?
Well, definitely. We did it last year, and we're doing it again this year. They're being ultra cautious with Rioli, they're being ultra cautious with Prestia. Anyone who's important and has a niggle, they're being cautious with. I mean, Cochin missed a game, Martin missed a game. I'm not worried.
Is there any possibility that they could even be in the middle of? Do they do the heavy training loads mid-year now? Is that still a thing that they do, or is
they do? Yeah, definitely do. They do them, and I think we had been in one. I think we lifted for the Essendon game, but even listening to, I think it was Caddy being interviewed after the game, he talked about what a tough game it was, and I thought about that after the Port game. Like, well, we probably got up for that one, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't be flat the next week. So, you know.
And JR, the one thing that stood out for me against Port is I felt we were just getting dominated around the clearances. We were giving them far too many easy inside 50s, which put our defenders at sea. Was that a bit of a concern for you watching, or was I over-exaggerating that as well, potentially?
No, I agree with you there. Definitely getting smashed around the midfield. Port got a lot of big body midfielders, and you could see that was making a big difference during the game. Graham out cost us, I think. That hurt a bit, and obviously Martin being out really mixed up the structure. So Caddy going in. He wasn't impactful like he is. Not being in a forward line. Jack was getting double and triple teamed every time the ball went in, and it was difficult for us to get anything happening.
Yeah, the Jack Graham was interesting.
Nankatty's worst game in yellow and black too. He was putrid. Nankatty. He normally is like a big bodied midfielder for us, and he was hopeless. Which he's you forgive that because he's been so good, but.
Yeah,
basically, we didn't have him, Martin, Prestia, or Graham. It's
a lot of hardness to miss around the ball, especially when they've got bigger bodies themselves. I was just really shocked that we didn't play Graham. He didn't even play VFL, so unless it was a structured rest, but I don't know. It kind of felt like the common sense might have prevailed, and you leave him back in the team. But yeah, we just didn't cope very well at all without him. And the other player, and I think I've mentioned him a few times, and maybe I'm picking on him, maybe I'm not, but Dan Butler just had an absolute nightmare, I think.
Yeah, Butler's. You could see Butler has played a lot of soccer. Let's put it that way. Because one time he came through a pack and just tried to dribble the ball with his feet instead of picking it up when it was at hip level almost. He's a clever player, and I think he's told to be outside. But yeah,
I don't want him being outside, but I just find that he doesn't use his pace until he feels he needs to. But if he actually exploded off the mark from the start, he'd break away from more packs than most people in our team. But he just seems to cruise. But then the
training thing might apply to him as well. He's very quick and he does cover a lot of ground. So maybe he's tired.
Possibly. And what about Asprey going down? That seemed to be a bit of a turning point in the game. I think that's when Port piled on majority of their goals in that second quarter. Was it the second or third quarter? I think it was the second.
Second.
How much impact do you guys reckon that's had on the outcome of the game and potentially going forward as well?
That was a big one, I reckon. That killed us. That stuffed up the structure. As soon as he come off the ground, that's when they piled on the goals. That couple of minutes, that really killed the game for us, I think.
Yeah, I can't talk. I was actually in the toilet for those couple of minutes. I came back, I'm like, they've kicked 3 goals.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And I was probably more disappointed with our inability in the second half to peg it back because they only kicked 1 goal after half time. So we've just been really sloppy going forward, bombing it in long. When they set up behind the ball, we didn't try and counter it. The amount of times that we kicked straight to Port Adelaide players was just ridiculous. It was driving me nuts.
True.
And like you said at the start, Rewalt's getting double, triple teamed, so they're going to have to be a bit smarter about our ball movement going forward, I think.
Yeah, ball use wasn't great. And I think credit to Port, the first quarter and half, I said to my brother-in-law I was watching with, this is a great game. And then Port just shut it down, made it an ugly stoppage slog and just played the boundary line, which played into their hands with their big midfielders. They wanted stoppages. They're good at stoppages. And they just made it an ugly game. And, we couldn't adapt well enough to beat them. No,
they did. They brought it to us, and unfortunately, that's the territory that comes with being the reigning premiers. You become the hunted, as we all knew was going to happen. And we are literally everyone's grand final, and it's not even a joke anymore. It's actually true. So
actually, it's true now. Yeah,
it is true.
It is.
Yeah. And I could see them before the game coming out. They were really pumping themselves up for it, and it's like next week. I think we're going to have the same thing. Geelong's going to be looking to get back at us. So we are everyone's grand final.
And we were the same when Hawthorn were winning their grand finals. We were always geeing ourselves up to try and knock them off, and a couple of times we did. So it's just our turn now to become.
We have a different perspective on those wins now, don't we? Over Hawthorn. Yeah. We understand it better, I think.
That's right, absolutely. We all thought, we were shit up back then. It was like, you know what, teams do get up and about for these kind of games, and you're bound to drop one every now and then. But, we're still in a good position. I think we're a little bit lucky that the teams outside the 8 are kind of duking it out as well. So we've got a little bit of clearance there, but the top 4 is getting pretty congested. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all pans out.
It is. I've done the ladder predictor on that Squiggle site numerous times, and you come up with something different every time, and like 6 teams tied on the same number of wins from 3rd to 9th almost. I think there's like 10 teams trying to fit into 8 spots at the moment. There's probably 6 teams trying to fit into the top 4.
When I posted that thread, I knew what was going to happen. Instead of people, sharing their thoughts and opinions, I just got slammed for my one. It's like, hang on, do your own and put it out there and let's all judge each other.
Yes, that's right.
But you're right.
It changes every time you do it.
It does, because sometimes have I overcompensated the margin, and there's so many things that come into it. But I'm sure we'll keep chopping and changing as the weeks go on. But I'd like to think the top 4. I'm not going to say certainty, but it's definitely very achievable. But I'm starting to have my concerns about top 2.
I think the top 4's, I reckon, looking at it, I think that the top 4 is pretty close to being set. I reckon that the top 4 teams at the moment are going to be the teams that are there at the end of the year. Just how they're positioned may vary, but I think West Coast, if they keep going the way that they are, they stay in first, and it's just between Richmond, Sydney and Geelong where they're going to finish in the top 4. But I'm pretty confident we can achieve top 4 still.
What about the 2 teams today, Melbourne and Collingwood? They've been touted by media as being potential top 4 candidates. They're no chance to fit in, we don't think?
Oh, no, I think either of them could, definitely. I think Melbourne's better than Geelong. I think Collingwood potentially is. I think Collingwood got Melbourne at the right time today, and Collingwood's best is very good, but their worst is not as close to their best as the good teams is. But I think Melbourne. I don't really rate Geelong, to be honest.
Wow, I'm kind of
quite happy to play them in a final again.
At the MCG, obviously not down at Skilled.
Obviously at the MCG. Where else would you play a final?
Exactly right. All right, we'll push on to the roast and toast for this week. We'll start with you, Richoatthedisco. You've got the roast for us. What have you got?
The roast is all these bloody hand-wringers about the state of the game. The game's in fine shape, and all I need to do to fix it is play it properly. They talk about the golden years. I watched the 1989 grand final recently. Here's what they did differently then. They called a ball up as soon as the ball gets stopped in a pack instead of letting bigger packs. They're paranoid about calling for ball ups now, so they let the ball bounce around inside bodies with more bodies piling on until either eventually have no choice to ball it up with, now there's 30 people around the ball, or someone throws the ball out and they're like, oh, good, let's play on. And the other thing is, when you call the ball up, just get in there and throw it up straight away. Don't worry about Brian Taylor. I never do agree with, but he said this the other night. Just get in there and throw it up before 30 blokes come around. Just get in there and throw it up, and whoever's there contests the ruck contest. Watch that 1989 grand final, and you'll see how the game should be umpired for a start. There's nothing wrong with it. Just pay the free kicks that are there, like pay them all. Stop people holding on, for fuck's sake, in the midfield even more than in the forward line. I think that what taggers get away with, like Jacobs, is a disgrace. That guy should be booted out of the game. It was like McCaffrey a few years ago on Cotchin.
Yeah, he got crucified.
And call the ball ups and ball it up bloody quickly and let anyone go for it.
I felt like
get rid of this third man up ruck rule. Just let anyone go for the ball when it's a ball up.
I felt like they balled it up quickly today. There was a couple of times where Max Gawn was on the bottom of the pack and they called a ball up and the ball was thrown up almost the moment he was standing up, so he had no time to position.
They've probably been told to do it,
yeah, or anything. So I do. I agree that would help create a bit more separation and less congestion if that's what they're worried about. But just to add to your roast, they've also got to get, if they're going to implement things like a goal review system, they've got to get it right. Once again, I don't know if you guys read the article or not, but the Essendon versus Brisbane game, Jake Stringer had a shot for goal, and the goal umpire called it touched, but wanted to double check it. And the AFL have come out and said that reviewer was looking at the wrong player to see if they touched the ball, and they overturned it and called it a goal, but they were looking at the wrong person. Like, how can you have these kind of mistakes in the review system?
What if the review shows that the ball wasn't touched off the boot, but the guy who got the ball, his teammate threw it to him? They can't say, it was a throw, so it's no goal. But if you're trying to get the decision right, you should. So you could review every single decision and you get something different. So just put some faith in the umpires and let them do their job. Get better umpires for a start. I'll be going around to all the state leagues and all the suburban comps and just approach the smartest players in the comp. Everyone, you'll know who they are. People will tell you, and offer them 6 figures to become an umpire because they understand the game. Go, mate. Look, you're 30 years old. You've earned $2,000 a week playing footy. You're coming to the end of that. How about the next 10 years? You earn $100,000 a year implementing your footy knowledge by umpiring the game the way it's meant to be umpired because you know how it's played. You know all the tricks. You know all the diving, all the staging. You know everything. Umpire it the way it should be played, please.
And I reckon that's a big issue, that there's not a great deal of umpire depth. I personally didn't see our VFL game on the weekend, but following the thread, it sounded like there was one particular umpire with a lot of howlers. And even Craig...
there were three. All of them. In fact, the girl only started sucking in the last quarter. There was a number 22 who was awful all day. I was there. It was terrible. I mean, it was hometown umpiring at its worst.
Yeah, so and that's an issue, that if they're the umpires that are in line to take over like a main role if someone's injured or sick or whatever it might be, then what kind of chance do we have? And it has to become a full-time profession. Yeah,
if they're serious, of course it should be.
And the other rule I want to bring up as well that's getting a roast is from today's game, the diving below the knees rule is bullshit and has to go. Taylor Adams, I think he's a flog, but he dove out in front of... He was at the ball first. He slid across the ground and punched it forward to a teammate, and the Melbourne player got there second and pretty much fell over him, and there was no contact.
Jumped over him. There was no contact.
There was no contact, and he got the free against. Now, that's not what the spirit of that rule was all about. It was about if you're sliding in with your legs to someone who's already bent over and picked up the ball, that's fair enough. But
that is. Right.
Players have been brought up to get the ball first and be first to the footy, and that was just a genuine contest. And if anything, if we want to be really picky, the Melbourne guys should be looked at for staging. If they want to get really technical about it all, that rule needs to be looked at and overhauled, I think, at the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, enough of me ranting. JR8, you've got the toast for us. What have you got?
Yeah, I'm going to toast the Big Freeze. I think it was great that all 18 coaches got together. It's for a good cause. Last time I checked the TV, I think it was just before 6. It was finishing about 6. It was at 2.2 million. So I think that's great. I think everyone who donated have done really well. Neil Danaher has done really well. It's good. It was a great cause. It's pretty sad to see that firefighter that was on there as well. I think he was just diagnosed in January, and he's gone downhill pretty quickly. And I think Bucks wore his helmet down the slide. So it was it was pretty sad. And I think it was a great cause. So I'm toasting to that. Yeah,
it was really nice. Even after the game, the Collingwood boys put him in the middle of the circle for the song as well, which was a nice touch as well. And they were getting around him afterwards, which was really good to see. But I think they mentioned at the end of the telecast it's raised over $34 million across the 4 years, including the government contribution and selling the beanies and all kinds of stuff, which is an amazing effort.
That's great.
And it was
Neil
good to see
Danaher is
the coaches.
amazing. Like, the Danaher family are just wonderful people, I think. Just credit to him.
Surely
Credit
he's a
to all of
lock-in for Australian of the Year. That should just be a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
you
Yep.
reckon.
And it was I had a good laugh. I think it was Chris Fagan. He jumped out and done a hammy.
That was, he reckons it could be off the bone.
And he was
Off the
dressed as
bone,
the
yeah.
Reverend too.
Yes, yeah.
That's amazing that he could have hurt himself. Hopefully he's okay, but yeah, didn't look like a great deal, but just that slip off the steps had done it. And what did you make of Dimmer's I Love Mrs. Hardwick t-shirt? That's a winner for sure.
Yeah, that was a pisser.
I would have liked to see the Adidas stripes to be true Tommy Hafey as well on the shoulders, and a bit tighter like Tommy used to wear them. But I liked it. Yeah.
If they sold them in the Punt Road store, they would sell shitloads of those t-shirts. I Love Mrs.
I
Hardwick.
reckon they would.
Even they can just make it black with a yellow love heart with a black text on it. It'll make a killing. Guys will buy one. It's not even just a female targeted shirt. Everyone will be all over it.
Yeah.
But no, credit to the coach. They did a good job this year. What did you reckon of the Scott brothers just swapping over? Was that a bit predictable, or did you enjoy that one?
Very predictable. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're both flogs. So yeah.
I don't mind Chris. I don't like that.
The best one from an entry perspective was Beveridge, just surfing it down. That was quite good.
Yeah, great. That was good.
So, all right, we'll push on to the big round 13 game versus the Cats this week, and it's a massive game for both clubs. A lot on the line with how the ladder's panning out. We're, I'm going to say, down on form a little bit, and they're up and about. Richo, what are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think it's a big. You're right. It's a big game for both clubs, and Geelong will be coming out pretty hard to trying to raise the humiliation of the final last year, which we did pull their pants down and absolutely spank them silly. But I think the Tigers should be up for it too. They've got Patch to defend, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there. I think it'll be a ripping game. And
JR, what are your thoughts on it? Do we have to address any glaring issues from last week against Port?
Yeah, well, definitely. I know it's cliche, but it's going to be one in the midfield. Very cliche. But if we don't have some more intensity than what we did in the Port game, I think we can lose the game. But I'm hoping being at the MCG and the Port loss is going to hurt a little bit. The guys get some fire in the belly. I think Miles. I don't know. I've seen some people giving him a bit of a hard time, but I think he did okay coming from the VFL. It was his first game back, and he's been out for a while. He did look slow. I don't know if that's just, it's going to take some time to adjust. But
he looks small too.
He did look small. I think a lot of people look small against the Port midfielders because they're all big boys. But I know. I think Martin coming in is, Martin and Graham need to come in.
And Rioli.
And Rioli. Fingers crossed Rioli can get up.
He'll be in for sure. He'll be in for sure.
Yeah, they did say
didn't he get stomped on or something?
Yeah, but it was interesting after the game. Him and Bolton and Stengel and Townsend all did sprints along the length of the centre square after the game. Townsend did a couple, and the other three did several up and back, like half a dozen at least up and back, 50 to 60 metre sprints. And Rioli was doing fine, and Bolton was flying. He gave Stengel a 10-metre start a couple of times and blew past him.
Wow.
That's Stengel's problem. He's not athletic.
He's smart, though.
He's a footballer. He's a smart, tough, strong little nugget of a player, but I worry about his running capacity in the modern game.
And what about the Holy
Trinity? I don't think Miles will be playing this week either. Miles will get dropped. It'll be Martin, Rioli, Graham, and maybe Townsend and maybe Bolton will come in. And I think Miles is first out, along with probably Menadue, Higgins, maybe Moore. If they bring in Townsend, Moore's probably gone. And I don't know, Brandon Ellis is probably on a bit of thin ice. So he got a warning shot across the bow a few weeks ago when he got dropped, and he was back to some pretty poor form again on Friday night.
The other out that may occur is Asprey, depending on how his ankle pulls up. So if that was to occur, Garthwaite, I'm assuming, would be the one to come in, although there's been some talk about how good Bolter played on the weekend, but I'm not sure if he's conditioned already enough to come in for an AFL game yet.
It'll be Garthwaite. He's ready. He knows how to play the position. Like Bolter played forward for the first quarter and a bit and couldn't touch it, and then they put him behind the ball and in the ruck, and he was great, just on freakish natural athleticism, and he was still running strong at the end of the game. He's got a naturally big tank, and he's super exciting. But I think he's more likely to take Brandon Ellis's spot than David Asprey's. If he was playing, I'd play him on the halfback flank because he moves well enough.
Yeah.
But his aerial game isn't up there like Garthwaite is.
And what about the Holy Trinity with Ablett, Selwood, Dangerfield? How are we going to curtail those guys, JR?
Yeah, well, I watched some highlights. I couldn't catch the whole game, the Geelong and North game, but seems like Dangerfield spent a fair bit of time up forward as well. So, it's going to be interesting because if we get Martin back, we can put Caddy back into the forward line, which will make our midfield look much better with Cochin, Graham, Martin, and probably Edwards running through there a little bit as well. It's going to be a tough battle there.
And the matchup for the Geelong forwards, Richo, Hawkins being their big target, is Rance going to go to him, or do we think? I mean, let's say Asprey's out and Garthwaite comes in. Do you throw him to Garthwaite, or do you sort of have to stick Rance on him and let Garthwaite take the second best?
Yeah, probably. I'd be big ask for Garth. Hawkins is a big, strong man, and I thought that he was probably one of their better players in the loss in the final, even though he didn't impact the scoreboard much and he got a lot of his ball up the ground. I think he still got a reasonable number of touches for a key forward from memory. I don't think you can. It'd be a big ask to put Garth on a massive man like that in his first game.
And what about at the other end of the field with our forward line? I mean, Blitzarves has turned himself into a pretty decent fullback, believe it or not. So Riewoldt is going to have his work cut out, especially if we're just bombing the ball in long. Do we have to change our approach and our delivery to actually get onto the scoreboard?
Yeah, I think movement. We've got to have movement in the forward line. Lots of blokes moving around. I think Jack's smart enough to perhaps lose Blitzarves up the field, like he doubling back and that sort of thing. But then Blitzarves is probably a good enough athlete to get lost and still catch him by the time the ball gets there. So that'll be interesting. I think we just got to lower our eyes a bit and hit some targets instead of just bombing away. Honestly, leads
make a big difference.
Rioli will make a huge difference. Absolutely.
He really is the barometer for our pressure, Rioli. I mean, the guys have done well without him, but it just hasn't felt quite the same with him not being in the team.
Well, yeah, our pressure this year is we're supposedly the pressure side, and I saw a stat the other day that we're 12th or 14th in the league for pressure. So we're 9-3 without. We haven't even changed into third gear for pressure yet. I think we're just. That's why I'm pretty confident. Like we're going to go well because we haven't hit the button yet. We're just cruising at 9-3 and wait till we turn up the heat.
I suppose that's what there's always that small part of me that thinks, do we have that ability to flick that switch, or are we just going to be up and down like we have been the past few weeks? It's really hard to gauge, and I'm hoping we can just kind of flick the switch later on in the year.
Well, you want to build the form. You don't want to just leave it till September and go, okay, now go, because as you say, you might not be there. But I think we can. I think we do have the extra gears, and they'll be working to bring them in from August onwards. I think just build nicely, and then the last few weeks of the home and away season really try just fine tune everything and hit September running all cylinders firing.
And JR, we talked about Dusty being out before. Do you reckon there was any more to it than being just a calf niggle? I mean, I've thought he's been injured for a few weeks and he hasn't looked right at all. But is it just a simple? Do you reckon it was a planned rest, or has it just been something that's just developed late, or what do you reckon about it all?
Yeah, I think he's looked a bit off for a few weeks now. He's still doing all right. Just there's a big expectation on him, and especially to back it up from last year. But I think he's probably just had a few niggles and it's probably just a good time to give him a bit of a rest. I'm hoping that he does play. I think he will, because we can't afford to keep dropping games if we want to finish top 4. So, he's going to make a big difference, obviously, as well.
Do you reckon if we had have beaten Port that he would have taken the extra week off?
Yep.
Yeah.
If there's any doubt, yeah, probably.
I felt like that was the plan the whole time, to have 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of feel like that Port loss may have just shaken things up a little bit to change how we're going to approach it.
To me, he's looked like he's had a groin issue for quite a while, and he's never, the whole season, he's never looked as fit and sleek as he did last year. Whether that was a plan to just ease him through and do the mini pre-season in the middle of the year, which I think we've done, and I think that's maybe why he's picked up a calf niggle that I don't think he has had prior to the last couple of weeks. I thought his problem was groin, but that was just from looking at him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he goes upon his return, but we definitely would rather him just firing towards the end of the year, because that's when it obviously counts. So, all right, before we finish up, we'll get a prediction from you guys from the game. Rich, I'll start with you first. What's your prediction and margin for the game?
Look, I think it'll be hot early on. Probably for most of the game will be pretty intense, I think. I just think we'll pull away, we'll outrun them and probably win by 21 points.
I'll happily take that. And JR8, what about yourself? What's the prediction?
I think we can win it. So yeah, I think 3 to 4 goals in our favour, but I think it's going to be 2 to 3 quarters of it probably being a grind, and hopefully we can pull away in the last quarter.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not overly confident with this game. I wouldn't be shocked if Geelong beat us, just because they're going to be after some serious retribution from the qualifying final. But if we're to get up and things go well, and we play the way we know we can, we should be able to get up by about 2 to 3 goals. But it's going to be really
I won't be shocked if we lose, but I'll back us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guys love a challenge, and I think they're aware of the fact that the G is our advantage over most teams in the competition, so hopefully we can utilise that and put them to the sword again. Just a reminder, the game is on Sunday, the 17th of June at 3:20 p.m. at the MCG, so it's their home game, but it's our home ground, so suck on that.
Slot.
I know.
What a horrible time slot in the middle of winter.
The crowd will be down because the Geelong people won't want to have to drive back that late because they've got work tomorrow or the next day.
All the Tigers get out there again and boo them when they come on the ground, and they'll be terrified.
Yeah,
all the supporters will
bring your bells. We can ring a bell before the game as well, just to make them feel at home.
I just want to replicate that boo from the qualifying final when the Cats come on the ground. That was unreal. It was one of my favourite moments of the whole year.
Yeah, it was totally unexpected too. I don't think anyone saw it coming.
I turned to my old man and just said, "Listen to that!" I couldn't believe it.
And you look back at the footage, you can kind of see the players smirking because they didn't see it coming either. And probably got them up and about a bit. So no, that was good. But yes, make sure everyone gets out there to support the boys and give them hell. So Richoatthedisco and JR8, thank you so much for your time, guys, and thanks for coming on.
Pleasure, Michaels. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
No worries at all. Until next time, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Richmond BigFooty Tigercast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and YouTube so you can follow all the roast and toast, the reviews and previews, and all topics Richmond. Also keep an ear out for our special episodes of interviews with past players. Go Tigers.